happy. That's all I did. I hate you.
Holy shit, Danny. There we go. No, I'm unmuted. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Danny Hernandez and James Sasanti. Back once again to review AEW Dynamite, this being the 200th edition of AEW Dynamite. James, I also remember the first Dynamite, so, you know, you don't have to be that much of a tryhard about it.
Wow, what the fuck?
But without trying hard, he has like no personality, so don't give him a hard time about it.
I was taking a jab at myself for being old, but apparently try hard. Even when I try to be in on the joke, I'm making it worse.
I remember. Anyway, we are actually going to start with the main event of the evening, which saw Toni Storm face off against Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's World Championship. We're going to pick it up late in the match as Saraya was doing her best to distract referee Paul Turner. Shida was climbing to the top of the ropes when Ruby Soho came over and pushed her off, allowing Toni Storm to hit a tornado DDT, get her into the other corner, hit a hip attack, and then a second DDT, which Shida was able to kick out of. After an exchange of strikes, Shida was able to hit a rising knee after coming off the ropes, and then hit a Falcon Arrow, and Toni Storm was able to kick out of that. Saraya then threw Shida's kendo stick into the ring, and I like Excalibur pointed this out, a little sloppy out of Saraya, and Paul Turner saw the kendo stick, so nobody was really able to take advantage of using it. However, after a brief tug of war between the two competitors, Shida was able to come away with the kendo stick, and Toni Storm essentially just started daring Shida to use it, hoping to win via disqualification. Shida, after some slight hesitation, and hello, JL, I do see you in the comments. We'll get to the debut in a little bit. But after some moments hesitation from Shida, she decides to use the kendo stick to take out both Ruby Soho and Saraya before throwing it onto the mat. This again distracts Paul Turner, because apparently MJF's not the only one with ADD in this company. And
oof.
And while he's removing it from the ring, Toni Storm goes over, grabs a can of spray paint, sprays it into Shida's eyes, hits Storm Zero, 1, 2, 2.9999, kick out. Shida is able to kick out of both of these things. Toni then, I didn't quite see this clean. Did she go for another Storm Zero, or was it just a roll-up attempt? I do apologize.
She picked her up for the Storm Zero, and then it turned into a roll-up sequence.
Thank you. So, as Danny said, Toni picked up Shida for another Storm Zero. Shida was able to shift the weight, attempt to roll up. Toni shifted the weight back, and then Shida was able to shift the weight a final time, holding her down for essentially a 5 count because she was blinded and wasn't sure if she won, winning back the AEW Women's World Championship, becoming only the second 2-time champion after Toni Storm. I am a huge Hikaru Shida mark. I am so fucking excited for this. I am so thrilled. She not only deserves the title, and she's one of, if not my favorite woman on the roster, but James, I think this allows for a bit of a reset of this AEW women's roster. We went hard at Tony Khan for the way he's been booking these women last week after that just dismal match. So hopefully this now allows...
You just didn't start with it, Danny. It was after you fell asleep.
It was well after you fell asleep. So I think this can allow for a soft reset of this women's division. I think you still have the Outcasts be top heels, but we need to build up people other than just the Outcasts, Britt Baker, and Shida being at the top of the card now. But hopefully we can see a little more variety within this division between new champion Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander as the TBS champion, who's only been that for a short time.
Absolutely. We were building to such a big story, to such a big payoff with the Outcasts versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Shida was involved. Other women were involved, and it fizzled out completely with Hayter's injury and a multitude of other factors. It really just put a real kibosh on what could have been a great story cap.
It's a football related thing, James. Is Jets shirt. It's football season, man. Jets play tomorrow.
No, that's fair.
Well, it's baseball season, but both of our teams are not in it, so
no, it's football season, dude.
Cope, however you have to.
It's August.
But we have been sort of stuck in this stasis ever since. They haven't been able to pivot. They haven't been able to reposition. And unfortunately, it's just been hurting the division. And last week, none of these women were involved with what happened, but it didn't matter. It still affected what happened with the Britt. I mean, I guess Britt was involved, but Britt and Taya's match didn't go swimmingly. And it was just, it put a magnifying glass on this division, unfortunately. So we've all been saying that they needed a reset. And I feel like Shida as champion feels like that reset.
Can I interject for one moment just to address JL's comment? It's not really hot potato booking. It's more like lukewarm, like microwaved the second day after potato booking. Like a hot potato. That's a lot of heat there, and there just hasn't been a lot of heat in this division. But I'm sorry, James, you're in the middle of something borderline poignant, but maybe wrong. But
it
probably
wasn't
good.
That. It also wasn't that quick of a change, if I may also cut James off there. I thought Tony had a fairly decent reign with the title, even though it wasn't one of the longer title reigns we've seen.
The only thing that's hot potato about it is that both of these reigns don't happen if Hayter doesn't get injured.
Yeah,
that doesn't make it hot potato, but that is why we are in this situation. Because now reports are that she's probably not going to be back anytime soon. So
yeah, I think I saw 6 months or on Reddit.
This title reign, as great as it is for Nick, especially, does not happen without that. So that's the only element of it that is kind of that has forced the potato's hand, if you will.
No, I get that. And going back though, Shida was a valiant, fun, interesting champion. And it happened at a point where there was not a single fan in the audience to witness her reign.
Not to mention half the roster was missing.
She did so much with so little. And it was always such a shame that it couldn't be recognized for what it was. It never reached its peak. It never reached its potential simply to all of these outside factors. She deserved a second reign, in my opinion. And now getting it at this crucial point where the division needs a reset. I think she's the right person to do it. I think it's going to feel fresh, even though it is her second reign. And given how far the division has come, because it has grown, it has evolved, even if the booking hasn't. I'm very excited for this reign, and I think she's exactly who should be ushering in this, God willing, new division.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of missed opportunities with, everything between Britt Baker and the Outcasts and this AEW Originals versus the outsiders of Outcast people. Like that, the ball was completely dropped there, and not just because of the injury to Jamie Hayter. It was being dropped in general. Like it was going way too long. It was ridiculous. I didn't like it. But even then, just to go off of another thing JL said about Tony's title reign, I enjoyed the title reign. I thought she put up some pretty good matches against a lot of different people. I think the one downside to it all was that we were seeing the same match essentially week in and week out, where it was Tony defeats, or, and a lot of time, or Ruby as well, defeats, challenges
Sky
X,
Blue.
Y, and Z. Yeah, it was always Sky Blue or
mostly.
Willow or, whomever, due to, outside interference by the Outcasts. And it was just very repetitive. So I did feel bad about that. But there were a lot of good matches. So I don't want to completely hate on this title reign. So Danny, I don't know where you come down on all this. Title reign, Shida winning the title, the soft reset, or anything else.
I lie. I want to say somewhere in the middle, but you guys are both on the same page, so I guess I lie somewhere in the middle to someone who would hate this. Not that we know anyone like that, and you guys, but I think it was a cool moment. I think Shida definitely deserves it. Shida's not my favorite or anything, but I won't take that away from her. She was a great champ during the pandemic era, and she did lose it in front of fans. So it's not like she never wrestled in front of champs as fans, but like to lose it, I get that. I understand that, but I'm more upset at just. It's the overall women's division stuff. It's what are we doing with the Outcasts? There's so many blown opportunities. Like that's one thing I didn't like about this was that I don't like how how ineffective the Outcasts were. That none of their interference. Yeah. That like they looked silly. That none of their interference with one person. One not super strongly booked person just easily overcame the odds. Shida is not strongly booked. Like
I think she's pretty well protected. I always thought she was well protected.
But she's not strongly booked though. Not like
she's not consistently booked, but I think she is booked strongly. When she's there, she wins more often than not. It's just they spent a lot of time with her not on TV. And some of that's not even AEW. Some of that's just she went back to Japan a lot.
Yep.
Yeah,
she does like TV over there and stuff.
But not like a overcome 3-on-1 scenario. I thought maybe like someone was going to come out, like Britt was going to come out or something. Something that we always say, like, why aren't these people coming out during or before matches? Why do they wait till the post-match beatdown? Kind of thing where I was just like, I don't know. I feel bad for the Outcast. They should have been booked way better throughout all of this. They should have been more of a force. This should have felt more like this is only cool because everyone likes Shida. Otherwise, this would just be like, what is going on here? But because we all like Shida, we're kind of like letting it go away. And because it's given us a reason to be optimistic because it's someone we like. So we're more willing to see it through and hope for the best. That's a great joke, Jay. Man, good stuff. But like I have that. I do not have as much optimism as you two seem to have based on what you just said now. But regardless of where I am on that scale and where you guys are and how good this actually is, it is undoubtedly a chance to it is a soft reset button, so I just don't have the faith that anything good's going to come of it, because somehow I feel like the title will be on TV even less now, but this was cool. And you know what, I'm sorry I'm just saying this now, but no, yeah, we all know you're definitely the Bella Twins, great TV. How old are you, Jay? You're like preferences are all over the place, man. It doesn't can't pinpoint a range on that, but we should have talked about this more and not focused on the negative or the positives that can undo and are only here because of the negatives. But the women main evented the show. Like that's a big deal. That was important. Yeah. That was really cool.
They main evented Dynamite 200. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah. The rest of the show wasn't a big deal, but this felt like a big deal. This was the only thing that really felt like this was a special episode of Dynamite, and the other thing in our thumbnail, I should say. But so that is really awesome, and the match was good. The match was fun. I'm always into Toni Storm matches, and usually Shida matches too, as few and far between as they can be sometimes on TV. So those are like unequivocal positives, and it's a great week to do it. You caught a lot of shit last week, and now WWE is cutting some women's matches, and you know what? They're not getting as much shit for it as they deserve because,
I'm going to give them shit
in the fall for them.
I'm going to give them shit on the prediction show.
Oh, It's not even a prediction show. It's just a show where I'm going to rant about them cutting 2 women's matches for fucking 25 minutes. And then real quick, we're going to go over our predictions. But
3 women's matches.
What's the third one cut?
Tag titles. They just
that was never going to be on the show, though.
But my point is, like, that's 3 opportunities for the women.
But those were no. I'm not going to give them shit for the tag titles. They're never going to be on the show. But anyway, it's a good week to do it for AEW because you're doing it, whether it's in response to last week or not. They'll never admit that it was, but we all know, and now this is WWE's week to take some of that heat. So ebbs and flows, but good stuff. There's nothing else happening, right? We're done, right? There's nothing else to talk about on the show, or
I mean, there's one or two other things.
The thumbnail has at least one other thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm curious though, and this is open for either of you, and I guess Dan, you kind of touched upon it, but I feel like that the Outcasts were a good idea and didn't have the best execution, and now this kind of leaves them in a little bit of limbo, as I think we are all hoping for a soft reset of the women's division.
Actually, I was going to say this just means that it's going to be Saraya versus Shida at Wembley. Like that's, and which is fine. I'm cool with that too.
I think this is a good opportunity to not only refocus the women's division, but it's a good opportunity to refocus the Outcasts. I think this group has a lot of has a lot of gas left in the tank. I think it's got legs that will carry it for a while, and just refocus their priorities a little bit. Saraya, as weird as it, I don't know, maybe it's not weird. Saraya should be the star of this group. In my opinion, she's the biggest name of the 3, and
she's the biggest name of the whole division.
True.
Yeah.
So treat her as such. That doesn't mean the other 2 need to feel like less. And I know we talk about it a lot, but Bayley and the Huggers. Bayley did a great job. As weird as that group turned out, Bayley did a great job of making the other 2 feel important.
Your heart's in the right place, but I don't know about that. Especially, I think Bayley and the Huggers is a cautionary tale of trying too hard to make the other 2 feel important and ended up bringing yourself down too much where you're like...
Well, I think she was going to get brought down by the fact that she was never going to win anyway. I think that's what ultimately brought her down. The other 2 won when she was never going to. That's what made her go too low. But I don't think the way she portrayed herself within the group and how she promoted the other 2 was what brought her down. It was simply they brought her in to challenge the champion at a point where people would have been okay with her winning, and she just lost continuously.
Yeah.
And here with Saraya, I'm not saying she should beat Shida, but she should look like a threat. She should absolutely look like a threat.
Yeah, and I mean, all due respect to Saraya, all due respect to Saraya, like, unless they put her on the MJF schedule, she's never going to defend that title, And I feel like that's probably why they ended up putting it on Tony after.
Yeah, that is the reason, absolutely.
Because if you had put it on Saraya there, like, that's rough. Tony was defending that title more often than not, I would say. She had a good number of title defenses, and
admittedly though, now that
Saraya would be wrestling 8 times a year.
Admittedly though, now that we have Statlander back as the TBS champion, that's more palatable to me. I don't mind Saraya being champion, being the MJF of the division, having those once every 2 months title defenses, while Statlander is the fighting champion of the division. I think that's doable now. But again, I do agree. I don't want to see Shida lose the title within 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. Also, do you want to have
accept it that it's a possibility?
Wait, what, Nick?
I was going to say also, do you want to have both of your world champions basically running the same shtick where they're just not wrestling?
Yeah, it's fine because you have 18 other titles. So
it's true, and we don't know how much longer this title reign will go. He's definitely going to make it past All In. But it's not long for this world, I don't think. We're definitely past the halfway point.
Fair enough. All right. I think we could discuss this for a lot longer, but we did have some other things on the show that we need to talk about. So let us just quickly run through the shitty stuff and get to some of the good stuff. And we start with back at the top of the card where we had Chris Jericho and Konosuke Takeshita face off against Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. First of all, I just want to start with I cannot. And he left because he just doesn't. Danny's gonna pop in and out for the things he cares about, and then when he doesn't give a shit, he's gonna leave. I cannot believe Garcia has gotten this dancing thing over. It's so shitty and it's so stupid, and people love it. It's utterly ridiculous.
I was super whatever about it until his ROH match against Shibata.
Yeah,
he really sold it on me. He really turned it around. I think it was the 1-2 punch of that match and then dancing on top of Keith Lee that I was like, I'm just going to take this for however stupid, crazy it is because he's having fun with it.
Yeah, and people are starting to cheer when he does it in everybody's face. So fuck it. If he wants to 2K spam, 2K spam the taunt, go for it, kid.
I grew up in an era where taunting helped get my finisher.
Exactly.
The games I played growing up, if I taunted, I got the finisher. So by all means, Garcia, go for it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Spunky there, where I kind of agree. Like it's gotten over, so I've kind of enjoying it to a degree. But my one note on this, and I'm just gonna say this now, is
again.
Maybe, but Garcia should have just joined Blackpool Combat Club. There was no reason.
I disagree.
No, okay, because we got a fucking dance out of it. Like I'm saying, nothing good has come from him staying in the Jericho Appreciation Society. That story did not go anywhere, and it hasn't improved.
So, all right, just real quick, because I don't want to get stuck in the BCC stuff.
Sure.
In the long run, in the short term, you're absolutely right. That storyline.
In the long term, I'm even more right. That's crazy. I agree.
I care more about Garcia today than I care about Yuta. And I think I would have cared just as little about Garcia if he was in the BCC as well. I think that storyline was poorly handled. I think they really botched the finish of that storyline. And then he got put to the sidelines for a long time. But being with Jericho did a great job of showing a different part of his personality that the BCC would not have been able to highlight. All we've seen of Yuta is that he's a shitty little heel. He's a chicken shit little heel. I don't know anything more about him as a personality trait. He's just an angry little chihuahua, as opposed to Garcia, who he's got a lot of depth right now, like surprisingly a lot of depth, and he's making the same reps. He's running the same loop that Yuta is. They're both doing Ring of Honor. They're both doing the side stuff. They're both secondary to the main group, but I care way more about Garcia, and it's not because of the dancing. It's the personality that goes with it. And I think he was only going to get there with Jericho. Granted, if he joins the BCC next month after the Jericho Appreciation Society ends, I'm all for that. I'm super for that. But I think it was a necessary evil, even if they botched how they got there.
I don't think you know what necessary means, but I think maybe you know what evil means. Yeah, no, we were getting there because you remember that whole story was to bring out his personality, was showing him that he wasn't where he belonged, and he already got the sports entertainment mentality and all the personality stuff out of that. He's just gotten a dance since then. All of this stuff could have been done months ago. There's no point we've gotten to now that could not have been accomplished months ago. But anyway, Rev, do you want to tell us how this match ended before we end up too far off the boil?
Sure thing. So after Guevara hits a frog splash onto Takeshita, Jericho breaks up the pin, which pisses Sammy off. As they're jaw-jacking with each other, Garcia comes in and double legs Jericho, and this distraction as they fall out of the ring allows Takeshita to put in what he calls the walls of Takeshita, which was actually more of a lion tamer than the walls of Jericho, but whatever. So Sammy is able to break out of that, and then he's able to break out of a walls of Jericho attempt after Jericho is able to tag in. Then he tags, Sammy does, he tags in Garcia, and he gets hit with a code breaker and kicks out of that. Sammy then hits shooting star press to the outside, onto Takeshita, which allows Garcia to lock in the Dragon Tamer on Jericho back inside the ring. However, the distraction of Garcia and Takeshita fighting on the outside draws the attention of Aubrey Edwards, and that allows that carny piece of shit, Don Callis, to take Floyd the Bat and hit Garcia in the head with him, knocking him out cold. Jericho gets up and he's confused as all hell what happened and kind of picks up what Callis did, but decides to take the victory, pinning Garcia and getting the win. After the match, Jericho still looks very conflicted over what he did, and Sammy and Garcia are very pissed off, but Callis is in the ring, raising Jericho's hand and parading him around. So, Danny, do you want me to just skip you and go to James, and then we can move on?
No.
Okay. But I thought that it was an okay match. That's all I'm going to say. It was an okay, fairly formulaic Jericho match, and it is what it is. I'm more here to see what happens with Jericho and the JAS than see this match.
Look, I am, despite everything I just said, it's not a bad story they're telling. It could have been told 4 months ago or so, but, I'm somewhat invested into the JAS breakup. It just never feels like it's in the right place, but it is on its surface a story that I'm somewhat invested in and interested to see where it goes. James, you hated this. You felt nothing, right? You just felt dead inside.
It was fine enough. I'm gonna give you a hot take though. I think Floyd is the worst thing Jericho has done in his AEW run. I hate that bat so much.
I don't think it's that hot of a take. I just don't have a strong opinion on it, but I get that.
It is sometimes the most powerful thing that he has, and then sometimes it is the most useless thing. But at the end of the day, he's hitting somebody in the head with an aluminum bat.
And I can tell you from experience that you go out cold, and you have a large bump on your head that never actually goes away.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
It's also very Deus Ex Machina. Like when they needed to, like they just pull Floyd out and Jericho wins.
And I'm not even against the bat. I don't mind Sting having a bat.
Yep.
Yeah, like just when you hit someone with it, they die. Like that's fine. Like
exactly. Thank
Glenn
you.
died, and the show went downhill from there. Like it's all.
I'd argue it was when Abraham died.
Nah, it was Glenn. Which is the same time, so it's fine. It's the same episode. So. Yep. It's really splitting busted open hairs there, but
but no, the match was fine. AEW has a problem with dragging stories out sometimes, and I get it when you have long breaks in between pay-per-views, but either commit Jericho or don't commit Jericho to it. Like he went for it. He got the pin. He pinned Garcia, but he was very conflicted about it. Just either have him be with Callis or have him not be with Callis.
Either way, this I hope ends at Wembley, or because I'm trying to think how long All Out is after that, and I know it's close, but
I thought it was like a week.
Even all right, if it's just a week, then you can end it at All Out, but it's got to end at one of those two things if you want to end it at a pay-per-view. Because you're right, James, we're hitting a point of diminishing returns here, and you got to end it before we drag it out. And we all know it's not just AEW, but specifically Jericho has a tendency to have his stories get very dragged out to the point where we just want to see the fucking end. I.e. Ricky Starks.
But Jericho's going to have a big
funny thing is the Ricky Starks one was one of the shortest ones.
Yeah.
It still went on too long.
It
was like backwards. 7 weeks long, and it somehow was still...
This one can't be blamed for it, but like a lot of Jericho's storylines happen in reverse too.
Yeah.
Like
this one's not that.
Like Ricky overcame all the odds, and then he still wanted another match with Jericho.
Yeah. And this one, I can't really say that, but that does typically happen, Jericho.
Yeah, but I think we're all fairly intrigued by what's going to happen. So I'm here for it. And just to skip ahead, after we came back from the commercial, Renee was trying to run down Jericho backstage, and she was interrupted by Daddy Magic Matt Menard, who told Jericho there was a mandatory Jericho Appreciation Society meeting next week and that Jericho has to be there. And then Jericho lingered for a minute before walking away, still very conflicted. But I do like the idea of this promo next week, and hopefully we get some sort of answers and like one more last big thing before we jump into the final gear here and get into whatever the finale of the story is going to be.
Their pay-per-view is called Full Gear. Sorry.
I know, but that's not a car thing; it's a Hangman thing. I digress. Anyway, after the match, we went backstage to Tony Khan, who introduced a Dynamite 200 video package. And I only bring this up to say I thought it was very well done. I think they hit a lot of the big points in the history of Dynamite. I thought they did a great job showcasing both Brody Lee and Jay Briscoe.
And Cody Rhodes,
And and Cody was there. They showed Cody
all three dearly departed talent.
So I just want to say this is very well done, and I guess I'm assuming you guys agree.
And also check out their Instagram version of it. It's a slightly different video, and it covers like everything, like every major moment AEW has had. Very good stuff.
I assume it's longer.
Yes.
Cool. I'm sure it's on YouTube then too. All right. We then go after the backstage segment with Jericho and Renee. We have our Jack Perry and Jerry Lynn face to face. So Shivani's in the ring.
JD about to have his moment.
Spoilers.
How dare you spoil things, Dropkick? How dare you? We would never.
Jack comes down to the ring, and then Shivani tries to introduce Jerry Lynn, but Perry doesn't let him. Perry starts to say something stupid because it's him, and he's immediately interrupted by Jerry Lynn's music. Jerry Lynn comes out onto the ramp and says, as much as he'd love to come down to the ring and kick, he keeps calling him Jungle. He's like, as much as I'd love to come to the ring and kick your ass, Jungle, that would be child abuse, which is a great line. He then says he's not in charge, so there's not a doctor in the world that would clear him with all the plates and screws in his neck. So he called a friend from ECW, who still wrestles. And as Dragoon has so delightfully pointed out multiple times in the chat, it's motherfucking RVD, Rob Van Dam.
Coming out to his ECW music.
Hype. So he comes down to the ring and he faces off with Perry, who quickly bails out. And as RVD is playing to the crowd, Jack tries to sneak back in and blindside him with a chair, but RVD sees him, barely misses a spinning back kick into the chair in Jack's face. So Jack throws a chair away, bails out, and goes into the first row of the crowd where he picks up the little girl and tries to use her to defend himself.
That was good.
Against RVD. That's the best heel move Jack has made since he's turned. It's that, and when he dove into the car running away from Hook.
And his shitty and his shitty smile when he pinned Hook.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So
see, James is really hanging on to that one.
I wanted to speak on it now. I think Perry is getting a lot of like the heel like moves in. Like I think his personality is showing. He just cannot cut a promo for the life of him. He needs a manager. Give him a manager because I think everything else he's getting together on his own.
Yeah, he's got. You're right. I think he's got the mannerisms down. He's got silly shit like I don't want to call it silly, but he's got shit like this down where grabbing a child like that or looking smug into the camera, and he's saying the right things. It's just very clearly his delivery of them. So I think we kind of discussed this last week, James. You give him a manager until he can figure it out, and then you can have them, have him split away. But and again, I think we said this last week. His best option is currently the TNT champion, so it's kind of unfortunate. But Danny, I have to imagine you were as hyped as James and I were that RVD has come to AEW.
Well, I guess that depends on how hyped you guys were. On a scale of like 1 to 10, how hyped were you guys?
I was really excited to see him. I was honestly, I don't know where the ever-living hell producer boy found out that he was going to be on the show and put it in the chat this afternoon.
It was pretty reported. It was.
I hadn't seen it.
Can I get a number? Can I get a number answer out of you guys?
7 out of 10.
7, yeah, 7 seems like a good number.
Okay, so I guess I was as excited as you guys. I feel like you guys were more than a 7, but all right.
I go ahead.
No, it's fine. You want to defend yourself. I
No,
understand.
I don't. I'm skeptical.
You're skeptical of Robert Van Dammit? You think
Yes.
is it because he's old and wrestles a lot? He's taking a lot of bumps.
Because I've seen him wrestle post, main appearances in any major company, and they were rough. The last time I saw him wrestle live was Northeast Wrestling against Jake Hager, and it was like a 15-minute match that should have been a 7-minute match, and the majority of it was on the outside as they were avoiding each other.
It was also Hager, so
yes, but it didn't look like. Say what you will about Hager, whether or not we like him or not, because we don't.
He can put on a solid.
He's physically capable of putting on a match, even if it's not going to be a good one.
Why don't we like Hager?
The same reason
we dislike him.
No, we dislike him. It's the same reason we dislike Jericho's wife. January 6th, we have an idea of where he was.
Oh, that. I thought you meant on screen, but I digress. That was my initial reaction. I was like, "Fuck yeah, it's Rob Van Dam!" And I saw him, and I was like, "Well, I haven't seen him in a while. He does look a little old." And I was like, "Wait, can he still even go?" That was my process. So I guess my initial number was a 7, and then I quickly probably dropped down to 6.
Isn't it wild to think that if RVD hit a spot like the kind of spots that Sting hits in the present, I'd be like, yo, bro, what the fuck's wrong with you? Don't do that. Leave that to guys like Sting, okay? What's wrong with you?
12 years older than him.
When he went for that spin kick, I felt a little bit better.
It looked good.
It doesn't have to be this doesn't have to be a 15-20 minute match. This can literally be a 6-minute bunch of bullshit. And he could literally hit only 3 moves and then lose, and then that's fine. Or he could win because it'll be hilarious. Fuck Jungle Boy. But that's
at least Dragoon.
This is an angle. We got to look at this first as an angle. If this is a 15-minute match, then we'll drag it through the mud next week, or whatever. But as it is right now, that's cool. You bring in a big name, an outside name, you get a big pop, you get maybe a few numbers online, maybe a couple extra people tune in, and then they're like, "Oh, who's this little piece of shit that he's fighting? I want to see this guy get his ass kicked." Or they'll probably see him and be like, "Man, I'm never watching this show again because this guy fucking sucks." But that's the risk you take, and I wouldn't take that risk on Jungle Boy. But they're already doing it, so that's the move you got to make. So all in all, this is overall positive. I'm not ready to be. This match isn't going to blow any of us away, but this angle could be very fun, and that's the best way I think to look at it.
Low key, I fantasy booked something that I know is just never going to happen.
RVD and Matt Riddle in the tag team.
I don't think they'd make it to the ring, but
in Colorado.
I want to see Taz reluctantly help Jungle Boy, because going back to their ECW feud between Van Dam and Taz, he wants to protect the FTW title from RVD.
I'd rather have it on Jungle Boy than
he's reluctantly helping Jungle Boy because he is attached to the FTW title. It's like Heyman with Roman. He did it because he had nowhere else to go. Taz is stuck with whoever the FTW champion is. I would love to see that.
That would be interesting. I don't know. I think as it goes for RVD, it's a really good surprise for AEW Dynamite 200. I think short term it's a great pop. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little surprised when a bit later in the show, another backstage interview with Renee, RVD challenged him to an FTW title match next week. I assumed this was going to be on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Wait, it's that time of year. You think a lot of matches are going to be on pay-per-view, and then all of a sudden they're just not. They're in fucking random episodes of TV.
Wow, in the middle of Canada.
We naturally went back there. Like that wasn't like planted.
Yeah, that was not planted. My eyes borderline lit up at the opportunity. And don't get me started on the fucking heel face dynamic of doing it in the heel's hometown. Like, what the fuck? Anyway,
Danny, we're gonna have an entire show to talk about this. Save some of it. But yeah, just interesting choice to do it next week.
He's getting hot.
Maybe something happens and it does end up on the pay-per-view anyway, but short term, this is really hyped. Maybe as Dragoon said, the match is embarrassing and nobody cares anymore after this. But it was really cool to see him come out. It's really cool to see him in AEW. They made him seem like a big deal because he is a big deal. So I enjoyed the segment. Okay, after that, we had a quick promo package for the main event, which, as we know, was Toni Storm versus Hikaru Shida. And I thought they did a good job both here and on commentary during the main event of explaining what you explained, James, how Shida had the title when there were no fans and, how she carried that division during that time. So I thought they did a really good job with this promo package. After that, we had Jon Moxley versus Trent Beretta versus Penta El Zero Miedo in a three-way match. So no DQ. This was phenomenal. I think probably match of the night on the card.
Trent wins. Trent wins. Trent
really
wins.
Matters.
Trent wins.
Yeah,
Nothing else
can I
matters.
say? Oh my god, that actually got a pop out of me. Like I had no chance in hell that I think Trent was gonna win this match. Like, bro, what the fuck? Can I say? And just I have a joke that I want to make at this match's expense, and then we'll talk about how great it was. But man, how cool this match was. This fit in for Dynamite 200 because this felt like a match that would have happened, and it would have been amazing to see on paper in year one of Dynamite, where these three people were on TV all the time, and where they all felt like bigger deals, as opposed to now where fucking two of them are so irrelevant and depressingly irrelevant. But that jab at them aside. This was fucking awesome. James, like James said, I'm sorry, James, how did you so eloquently put it about the outcome?
Trent wins! Trent wins! Trent wins!
Oh my god, do you have a confetti cannon? Anyone? Like real quick?
No. I don't have
my shoe.
Confetti cannon.
Oh, there we go. That's something. We'll take it.
I have these. That's the best I got.
Nice.
Don't ask. But yes,
right.
as James so eloquently put it,
Keep them
Trent
on.
did win. I'll run through the match real quick, and there was a lot of blood in this match, especially due to the fact that there was a barbed wire cover 2x4 that everyone just took straight to the head in one way, shape, or form.
I would say it was a casual barbed wire 2x4. The way they were using that shit. Like everyone's getting some of this.
Yeah. We then, as we hit into commercial, Trent superplexed Mox through two tables to the outside, and we came back out of commercial, and Penta hit an avalanche destroyer on Trent through a table, and then as he got up, he turned around, and Moxley just shoulder tackled him through another table. So everyone went through a table. Mox then put some thumbtacks down, and everyone went into those, including he hit a God-style power driver onto Penta, and then he had a paradigm shift, I think it was, onto Penta into the tacks. And then Trent tried to get real sneaky and catch Mox unaware, but he got hit with a cutter into the tacks by Mox, who also went into the tacks. Trent then recovered and hit a strong zero on Mox into the tacks. Mox was able to kick out of that. And then all guys stand up, just bloodied and exhausted, and they start throwing hands. And eventually Trent, tries to psych himself up, hits the ropes, gets taken out by a thrust kick and then a King Kong lariat again into the tacks. Because these tacks been fucking everywhere by this point, so it was impossible to avoid them. Mox and Penta then started trading until Penta hit the ropes. He gets countered by a paradigm shift, and then Moxley goes to the pin, but Trent is able to recover from the thrust kick. He hits a running knee on Moxley, who again goes into the tags and is able to steal the pin and the win on Penta and Moxley. After the match, Moxley, clearly pissed off, gets Trent into a sleeper hold while the BCC are starting to come to the ring through the crowd. But they're intercepted by Chucky T and Orange, and they all start brawling through the crowd and eventually to the ring. There's a huge brawl, and eventually the best friends clear the ring. culminating in Orange Cassidy hitting an orange punch on Moxley, sending him to the outside.
Kinda.
Yeah, he did. He staggered and then hit the ropes, and then was like, "Fuck this, I'm out." Chuck grabs the mic, and then he said the match clearly didn't solve anything, so he challenged the BCC to a street fight back in the Daly's Place parking lot, where it all began for the Best Friends, where they faced off against Proud and Powerful all those years ago, and that will be taking place on Rampage. Also, censor Chuck T. Let him say shit on television, you fucking asshole.
He said
goddamn.
He said goddamn, and I'm pretty sure he dropped the F-bomb too.
Did he drop? I don't know what he
something
said.
got censored,
Something got censored, and I don't think it was shit. So
I thought it might have been bitch, but I was like, did he say fuck or bitch? Like, I wasn't sure. I knew it was.
No, they wouldn't have blurred bitch.
Either way, I'm upset that they believed him. Let Chucky T curse on television is bullshit. We finally got a Best Friends win, and they still somehow take an L. But,
no, sir. The Best
This
Friends,
was amazing.
The Best Friends don't win matches. The individual members might, but as a unit, they are anti-winning, not losing, anti-winning.
Yeah, they brought up the parking lot fight, and they showed it in the video package. And you know what happened after that match? Neither one of those teams ever won the tag titles.
Yep.
So,
which was a sin. The fact that neither of those teams have been tag team champions.
But the ass boys have.
I know. And they were like, found the foundation of the tag team division back then.
As sad as I am about the Best Friends having never won the titles, it feels weirder that Santana and Ortiz never won the tag titles.
Yeah,
because they were in the inner circle, which was such a big deal at the start of AEW.
Yep.
So it just felt like inevitable that. See, I think, I don't know, and this is just random, hindsight speculation. I think a lot of plans did get changed with the Hangman Omega stuff, because I don't think that was ever the plan from the start of the company for those two to be tag champs. Yeah. So I think that came a little more organically, and they decided to go in that direction.
I also think, and I don't mind necessarily, I think with how many people they signed to, people just got pushed back. Like, I think FTR coming in really changed what that division was going to be. Like, I think you could have had Proud and Powerful winning the tag titles around that point.
Yeah, but FTR held it for a month at that point. And then they lost to Proud and Powerful too, not too much longer later.
Did they?
I just don't remember. When the Pinnacle was feuding with the Inner Circle. They lost that tag match.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. You're right.
So, I don't know. I can't, but yeah, I get that. But I just feel like, even FTR got a little screwed in that time frame. Not screwed per se, but a lot of teams, including them, got halted around that time. Somehow even them coming in got halted.
The tag division.
But yeah, this match was great.
Bloated. It got very bloated, and then it did kind of screw some things up for some teams. But yeah, like you just said, this match was great. Then I think you said it best, where this felt like a year one match, where they're just like, hey, we're gonna put three of our best guys into a fucking, and they didn't really do a lot of three-way matches in the beginning, but I'm just like, fuck it, three of our best guys in a match. It'll be, no DQ, obviously, so they're just gonna use all the fucking weapons they want because Mox is a madman, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. And it was great. And I miss this type of AEW shit.
And I know we were kind of dunking on it a little bit last week, and we were explaining how, you got to be careful with it. But all this did come out of a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And I think that's the best way to, if you're going to integrate Ring of Honor in any way, I think that's the way to do it. It could be a launching pad for other stuff. And even though that was the inciting incident, it feels so thank you. It wasn't necessary viewing. They easily recapped it on Dynamite, and last week led to this week. The dominoes kept falling, and it made sense. So I think this has been a good way to transition the BCC into something else. This is definitely going to be a mini feud, and I definitely think we're going to get an all-in match out of this with Orange and Mox.
I agree. The best way to handle Ring of Honor and AEW is to just do AEW people. Well put, man. But I will say this is better than the other Ring of Honor portion of the show, which I don't want to dunk on too hard, but I'm probably gonna like tune out and get some of my rant ready for the prediction show. When we talk about the ROH tag title match that happened on this show, because why the fuck was this on Dynamite 200? Like, that's so dumb. Like, and I'm not talking about the quality of the match or the quality of the individuals in the match, but having that match there made no sense. That was
Ring of Honor.
No, because you feel bad, and I can tell you want to defend it to some degree because you feel bad for the.
No, it's not even that I feel bad. I understand the notion, even if it's not something I would have done. If you had this match without the ROH of it all, if it wasn't a Ring of Honor tag team match, but you have a new tag team that is Aussie Open, they are all elite. They are not a Ring of Honor tag team. They are an all elite team taking on Vikingo, who has been a great international talent. And, in that weird handicap match that he had, because that's all this was. There was only 3 names in there that are worth caring about.
Shots on Commander. I like him. Look, he's not.
He's got 2 spots. He's got 2 spots. He's got that running on the ropes moonsault or shooting star press.
There's 2 spots.
And getting pinned is the second spot.
Does 2 spots not make a Dalmatian?
No.
Does it?
I don't know. I just really wanted to say that.
I mean, it was beautiful.
I thought so. I thought it was a beautiful.
Definitely needs more than 2 spots to be a Dalmatian.
I think it's.
I mean, Dalmatians are born without spots.
Does 2 spots not make a cow? Does 2 spots not make whatever dog the target dog is?
Does he have 2 spots?
But
does he have spots?
I mean, he has like the one giant one around the eye.
He has a target around his eye.
Yeah, but a lot of those dogs do actually have like that kind of circle around the eye. But anyway,
regardless,
yeah, you were saying
you have 3.5 amazing talents, and if you don't have the Ring of Honor logo on it, this is a good match to have to show how far we've come. Look at the new talent that is a part of this company. And maybe you do just want to highlight old talent. Maybe you do want to do that. But Aussie Open, in my opinion, is a top 3 tag team in the world today. And you can make an argument for higher. And even if you do want to defend the Ring of Honor stuff, Ring of Honor did play a big part of the 200 episodes of Dynamite. I want to say at least 40. It felt like it, at least. So
I guess. Yes, Ring of Honor has been a crucial anchor to lay down the ship as its voyage to 200. But that's why I prefaced it with note, not that the people in the match weren't good. It's not a reflection of them per se. But I will. My only pushback on your pushback, besides just flat out disagreeing with you, is that isn't everyone in AEW like one of the best in the world? It gets a little.
You say that.
That being said, I like Aussie Open.
You
they have
say
great
that,
theme music, actually.
They really do. But you say that on a night that Brandon Cutler returned on TV.
That's a good point. Yeah, you got me in that one particular scenario there. Brandon Cutler is one of the best in the world at what he does.
Yeah, fine. Fair enough.
But
2 contracts, man.
Yeah, how many contracts do you have? Probably 4.
Me?
James.
Less than James. Oh yeah, James has God knows.
I work freelance. I'm not even getting paid for this.
I mean, the rest of us are getting paid. Why aren't you getting paid?
I feel like I got to bring it up to Producer Boy in the chat.
Probably bring it up. Where you been, Producer Boy? What's going on?
Moving on. So I let you guys do all that ranting. We weren't even talking about the match yet. We had an in-ring promo from MJF, and this was phenomenal. So, wow, I'm shocked Danny's leaving for this one. So, for those of you who didn't see it, on Collision, MJF got pinned to lose the tag team title shot that he and Adam Cole had won by winning the Blind Eliminator tournament. Apparently, it's because he didn't cheat, and then afterward, instead of betraying Cole, as Cole had his back turned to him, allowing himself to take the belt shot. MJF then decided to put the title down and hug it out with Cole. So Max came down and he explained that he has something related to his ADD called rejection sensitive disorder. And apparently, according to some people on Reddit, he has actually talked about this in one of the few shoot interviews he's done. So apparently this is something he actually does deal with. And he's working it now into the story. But that makes it difficult for him to deal with the emotions surrounding rejection. He then tells a story, and I think he's told this before on the show, about a group of kids who threw quarters at him and told him to pick him up because he is Jewish. And then he decided that day that everyone was evil, and he was going to stab them in the back before they could stab him in the back. This made it easier for him to get the crowd to boo him because he was too afraid to open up to them out of fear of rejection from the crowd. But he now sees that they actually care for the person that is Max. So he's going to start opening up to them. Even though he's still a scumbag, he wants to be their scumbag. And then everyone started chanting, "You're a scumbag," which is really funny. MJF then invites out the man who showed him he could open up, his best friend, Adam Cole, baby. Cole comes down, no music, which I thought was interesting, and says that Max continues to impress him by the person he's becoming, that the crowd wants to cheer him because they know he's a good person deep down, and that he and the crowd are proud of Max. MJF says that he appreciates it. I think he said, "As much as I appreciate you verbally filleting me," or something to that degree. And then the crowd all was like, "What?" And then he's just like, "Hey, still a scumbag." He's happy that Cole is wearing the shirt. He's happy that Cole is his best friend and everything. But as much as he appreciates all of that, he called Cole down, because he made Adam a promise. Another shot, it would be his first shot at the AEW World Championship.
Yeah, it would be his first shot.
Yeah, because the first one was an eliminator.
Yeah.
So Max has thought long and hard about it, and he's decided that Cole doesn't deserve a match. He deserves the match, a shot at the AEW World Championship in the main event at All In. Max hands Cole a contract to sign, which Cole does without reading it, even though the crowd was chanting, "Read it first." So just little note, just maybe that comes back around. But they then tell each other that they love each other before hugging it out. And then we cut to backstage where Roderick Strong is throwing a hissy fit, throwing shit around when James's boys, the Kingdom, comes up to Strong.
Wait. How are they my boys?
Because they're Ring of Honor guys. I don't know.
That's okay. You claim them,
anyway,
I guess.
They tell Strong that Cole is always forgetting his real friends before walking away, leaving Roddy in a pool of his own tears. So like I said, James, this was phenomenal because this was like truly face MJF. He opened up to the crowd. Him and Cole are boys, and this is all going to end so poorly for one of these men. But I am enjoying this journey so much.
I hope not. I want them to be friends till the end. I want this match to end due to outside circumstances that leaves them both as friends, but in different directions, doing their own thing. I'm reminded of like the 90s when Sting and Lex Luger were best friends in WCW, and Sting was a babyface and Luger was a heel, and they just made it work anyway. That's what I want out of this. I don't need a babyface MJF. I just need him to not be a shitbag to one person, and that one person is Adam Cole. Let him still be the scumbag that he is, that he said that he's telling us he is. Just don't be one to Adam Cole. And I'm okay. I am A-okay with this. MJF is one of the most three-dimensional characters in wrestling history. Not just wrestling today, but wrestling history. And I think there is so much that they've accomplished, and there's so much more that they can still accomplish. And I've loved every second of this story, and I was pleasantly surprised with how good it became. I really don't get the Roddy stuff. Like, I understand the story they're telling, but it just feels so... It escalated very quickly. It escalated very quickly for a guy who I'm just looking out for my best friend to now probably going to be the reason his best friend doesn't win the match and the title. The Kingdom, I admittedly, they're not my boys. I have been waiting for the Kingdom to get integrated into Adam Cole's storyline sooner than later. For those who don't know, the Kingdom was originally Adam Cole and Matt Taven. Bennett came in, I think, a little bit later. But
I keep calling him Canellis.
Canellis, yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Thanks, WWE.
Still the greatest fucking theme music ever.
Amazing music. Amazing music. Ruined the guy, but amazing music. I think if you're not going to have him be with the Undisputed Era, the Kingdom is a good backup group for him. But we'll see how this goes. It feels like it's probably going to be Roddy and the Kingdom versus Cole, MJF, and God willing, my lips to God's ears, Kyle O'Reilly coming back sooner than later.
Kyle would be very interesting choice there, just in general. And I mean, look, I want Kyle to come back, but I'm curious just to see how that would play out.
You know what? It's either Kyle or it's going to be Bobby Fish. All right, we take what we can get.
I guess I don't know, but I do think that, I did say it's going to end poorly for one of these guys at the start of this, and you said maybe not, and maybe that's the point of this Roddy story. Now, granted, he looks like a petulant child.
He really does.
Fairly, stupid to me, just because I think it makes him look bad. But him and the Kingdom costing Cole the match at All In does allow for him and MJF to remain friends.
Exactly.
It allows MJF to win, and then he could be like, dude, like, I'm sorry. They took you out. I didn't, especially if you do one of those things where MJF doesn't see it, Cole's just down, and MJF wins, and then he could be like, oh, fuck, it was Roddy. Maybe you do like a week or two of Cole being upset with MJF, but then eventually he comes around and they're still BFFs. So I think that is a way they could actually do it. And it's interesting to see now. This, like I said, this is full-blown face MJF. It's a little unnerving.
Yep.
And I feel like every time we've seen it in the past, or like the glimpses of it, it's always been unnerving. But this is the first time it feels real.
Yeah.
And should he stay this course, you might be right about what you said earlier about, he might not be long for that title.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to have a heel defeat him than a face.
There are a lot of ways this can go. Look, I don't want to think about it, but Adam Cole could turn heel again. MJF could be the devil we all think he still is, or hope he's not, but actually still is. A heel could come in and take the title off him. There are a lot of ways this could go.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you, Danny. That's what I was looking at. Danny will be hopefully back shortly, guys. We'll see. There's a lot of, we've been talking about how we want to see Eddie Kingston take the title off MJF.
I don't want to heel Eddie Kingston to take the title off.
Yeah, I don't want that. So we would need to get MJF heel again, and we don't even know if that's going to happen. So MJF's title reign, I feel like for the first time, is truly up in the air about where it can go. So it's very interesting. I'm very intrigued, CC. I'm very intrigued.
Sure.
So, we'll see what happens here, especially at All In. I think, they haven't announced a lot for the show, but this is by far the most intriguing thing that we're seeing heading into Wembley. All right, let's move on to the next segment, which was a match between the Elite, and by the Elite, I mean the Kenny Omega and the Bucks, versus Jeff Jarrett and the Slapnuts. The Slapnuts in this instance being Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh, who I actually thought acquitted himself fairly well in the ring. I haven't seen too much of him in ring, and I know it's hard being a guy that big, doing big guy things, especially when you are newer to wrestling. I thought he looked good.
Yep, no, I agree.
Just to give as best as I can of a rundown of the end of the match, because it was fucking chaotic as is all overbooked Jeff Jarrett endings. So Satnam Singh is going up against the Bucks, and the Bucks are able to get him down to his knees, where they hit a barrage of super kicks before Kenny is able to hit the V trigger. Kenny then actually tries to get Satnam up for a one-winged angel.
He lifted him up a bit.
He got him up, and I think Satnam was using the ropes a bit to steady, but Kenny got him up pretty high, which is impressive considering how big that dude is. But while that's happening, freaking Karen Jarrett jumps up on the apron and distracts the referee, and this allows Sanjay Dutt to head in around back and take Kenny's legs out, then forcing him to drop Satnam. He's lucky he didn't get killed. Karen is still on the apron, so Cutler gets up on there, and he sprays her in the eyes with the cold spray, so she falls, and then Sanjay comes over, yanks him down, and they said he threw a right hand to Cutler. I thought he stabbed him in the head with the pencil. Either way, he takes Cutler out. This prompts the Hardy Boys, who are also feuding with Jeff Jarrett and the Slapnuts, I think after the Blind Eliminator tournament where Matt was paired with Jeff Jarrett, that is, paired with Jeff Jarrett. Gotta be specific here with last names. So the Hardys come down. They take Sanjay out with Jeff Hardy hitting Sanjay with a twist of fate. Back in the ring, the referee's still distracted by everything going on outside, and I believe it was Rick Knox because he always does Bucks matches, and he always gets distracted. So he's distracted. Jeff Jarrett is now lining up Kenny for a guitar shot, but Hangman just comes out fucking nowhere. Buckshots lariats Jeff Jarrett, and then Lethal picks up the guitar, but Kenny is able to duck his guitar shot, force Lethal to drop it, and force him down. Kenny picks up a guitar, puts his back on Lethal, strums it a few times, throws it out of the ring, gets Lethal up for the one-winged angel. 1, 2, 3, and the Elite pick up the win. After the match, Kenny and Hangman announced something that had been announced earlier in the media today, that they, all 4 of them have re-signed with AEW, and that we'll be seeing a lot more of them across all 4 shows that AEW produces, and Ring of Honor. So I guess, yeah, all 4 shows.
He said Dynamite, he said right. Ring of Honor, he said Rampage, and Collision.
Even Collision. So the beginning of this match was a little slow, but I always like the ending of these crazy overbooked Jeff Jarrett matches, James. It was fun. The Elite got a win on 200. It was really good to see them, the 4 of them standing tall together at the end of the show, at the end of their match on this show. So nothing too crazy here, but just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. This was a very standard match. You know, it's not going to have a lot of ripples going forward, at least I don't think. But I was just happy to see the Elite. It felt important on the 200th episode for them to announce they're going to be here for a while. You know, it's long-term contracts that they sign. These aren't short-term extensions. They're going to be with the company for a good while. And it would feel weird to see AEW without the Elite. So I'm glad that I don't have to worry about that for some time. And I'm glad we had this moment. But I could also say I am very ready for the Elite to stay the Elite, but all sort of do their own thing as well. I kind of want to see Kenny going for a title again. It doesn't even need to be the world title, but like something. I want to see the Bucks back in the tag division, and Hangman needs to make up with the Dark Order.
That's going to be difficult. Dark Order's pissed at everybody. That might take a while. I think it'll happen at some point, but I think it's going to take a while. I mean, they were even pissed at Colt Cabana. And I kind of like the fact that they're just mad at everybody who abandoned them.
They have every right to. They're like our favorite cult. Like, whatever.
Everyone left them, even if it was outside of their control. But they're all gone now. So,
Shrimp Dick 5.
Yeah,
to Impact.
He left. Colt disappeared, through no fault of his own. Anna left to go with the JAS. Stu left and then came back and then went, betrayed them for somebody else. I don't even know who it is.
The Righteous.
I forget their name. The Righteous.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're fucking wrong for taking Stu.
It was an amazing match, though, that they had.
I know. But, yeah, look, that'll happen at some point. As for this, like you said, it just felt right. It needed to happen. It didn't have to be anything crazy. And I feel like, having them go up against Jarrett and the Slapnuts was a perfect opportunity for just a little chaos, a little fun, and have the Elite get a good win without absolutely killing somebody. Danny,
What? Oh my god.
Welcome back. Hi. You good?
Yeah. Jared and the Slapnut should have won, but like, it is what it is. I agree though with James. Kenny should go for a title, but he should go for the world title. Because, well, not right now, obviously, because it's hard to see where we're going truly with the MJF Cole stuff, like you guys were saying. But, if this all culminates with a completely unhinged psychopath MJF, I think Kenny's the guy, man, to be that hope spot of, is Kenny going to be the guy to stop him before time runs out? I feel like, has MJF ever interacted with any of the Elite?
Yes, with Cody.
Cody, yeah.
Come on.
No.
I know, but it was back then. But like,
yeah. I didn't mean he was interacting with Cody, who was a part of the Elite. I meant,
since AEW started, since Dynamite started, pretty much since Dynamite started, Cody has not associated with the Elite on TV or even on BTE. So I haven't seen MJF and the Elite interact on AEW television. And I don't think I've even seen them interact on BT since Dynamite started. But
why are you laughing so hard?
Because he said that. He's like, I don't even think they interacted on BTE. And all I can think of is the episode of BTE where
Cody's introducing them.
No, well, Matt Hart. Yeah, that one where Cody introduces MJF to the Elite, and he's just a dick to them when Cody's back is turned. But no, I was thinking of when Vanguard 1 dies and have the funeral. And Cody's there, and I think it's the last time he's on BTE, and Cody's just like, "What are we doing here? Isn't this like a machine?" And Nick just turns around to me and goes, "Are you even in the Elite anymore?" I think it's the last time they interacted on anything.
Last time they interacted, but the last time Cody was on BTE was when he snuck into the
private party. Yeah,
and he was like, "All right, Nick, please don't edit me out of this."
Yeah, so I was just laughing at all of that. But I mean, if anybody can match Psychopath, it's Kenny Omega.
You know what would be the Bucks got to change their Twitter bio back to what they did when Cody jumped ship to WWE. We're like, WTF, man! I thought we were gonna do All In 2 together.
Got it.
Good job.
Danny, since you missed it, did you have any comments on the MJF Adam Cole promo? James and I were just gushing over it, obviously. So
I really liked it. I'm pretty much right there with you guys, but I think this was on purpose, or maybe I'm giving MJF too much credit, which seems like a borderline impossible thing to do. But it felt delivered in such a way where it wasn't convincing, but I felt like that was somewhat on purpose because, it would go along with the promo where he's saying, where it's like, I'm so used to being the guy everyone hates, and it's so much easier to just be hated than to be real with you guys and then be hated for it. Like, even the way he said that, I was like, this isn't like delivered with the same sort of emotion as the kids putting the quarters in the socks and beating him up, even though he'd made the football team, story with CM Punk. Like, it wasn't as emotional as the car crash because he was too busy getting Roadhead story within the Brian Danielson feud. It wasn't delivered with that same emotion and seriousness. So this felt like a lie, but it felt like that's just a lie that he wasn't, because he was incapable of still truly being real like that. And I think maybe based on what happens in the match and with, Roddy and however that plays out, maybe we'll get that where he's 100% walls down, like raw and emotional with Adam Cole. But yeah, it was a good promo, great segment. Just a big fan of this, and I am so happy that it's like MJF is going to main event this fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah, he should.
Should, absolutely.
This feud should. This is the hottest thing in AEW for a while now,
and by far,
people fucking love it.
So RVD was thumbnail worthy this week. Sheeta was thumbnail worthy this week. And no offense to both of them, because they both are great in very different ways. But that's not going to be thumbnail worthy next week. Whereas this feud feels like evergreen. It's consistently going to be the best thing or one of the best things on the show. This was one of the only weeks where it maybe was not the best thing on the show. And the only other week that happened, and the only week that happened, I think, was because blood and guts or whatever. And even then, I still think it's arguable. But
even then, they had the dance off, and that was amazing.
Yeah. And we got one of our most popular TikToks out of that. Go check it out. Cheap plug.
In the description below. All right, let's run through the last couple of things here really quick. We had some backstage stuff with the local embassy. Obviously, AR Fox last week turned on Darby Allin and joined up with Swerve and his gang, saying that Darby called him a mentor, but Fox never got so much as a call after Darby made it to AEW. Not even talking to him until Fox made it to the company itself until 5 years later. So now he's going to take everything Darby has as recompense and Prince Nana as, and we're going to take it in blood. Swerve then introduces his new movie, which is him and Fox going over to Nick Wayne's training facility, jumping Wayne and his training partner. They just kicked the absolute shit out of this kid, bloodying him when I think they broke something ceramic. I think it was a plate or something over Nick Wayne's head.
No, it was the picture frame.
Oh, it was a picture frame?
The glass from the picture frame.
Thank you. Whatever else shattered was ceramic. I guess the frame was. Anyway, he was bloody as fuck. Like, they left him in a pool of his own fucking blood. Then they force him to unlock his phone so that they can call Darby. Darby's very confused. And Swerve tells him that they are the ghosts of his past and that they're going to come for him. So, good promo. I thought I liked it. It was pretty fucked up, but we're upping the stakes here a bit with these guys, and I kind of like that.
I thought this was really, really cool. I'm sorry to cut you off, James.
No, go ahead.
I was super into this. And, you have that brief moment of, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this is a crime. Like, this is too real for wrestling. But that's you just got to turn off your brain and I'm watching a TV show. So, that's why no one's arrested Swerve and AR Fox for this, assault of a technical adult, but basically a minor. And, an
actual child.
Yeah.
But hey,
someone who can't legally drink alcohol,
This actually is child abuse, Cherry Lynn.
Yeah.
We live in a world where Conor McGregor threw a chair through a bus, didn't get arrested, and then fought at the next pay-per-view.
And I think people thought he was cooler for that.
Exactly. So, I mean, this isn't that different. Assault is assault.
Yeah.
That's assault, brother.
I mean, both things were staged, right? So let's. I assume I don't watch UFC. I assume it's all fake too.
Everything from UFC is staged.
I assume so.
They've been adding more and more and more elements of WWE even before.
Those punches are real, brother. Wearing gloves. What are you talking about? That makes no sense.
But
knuckles are softened.
At least for the out of ring stuff, I think that one was real though. McGregor just tends to pop off like that.
McGregor's just a stupid piece of shit.
You just love him because he's Irish.
I did love him, but now he's a stupid piece of shit, so I don't anymore. All right. Last thing on the card that was not the main event was the aforementioned Aussie Open versus Alijo del Vikingo and Commander. This match ended when both Vikingo and Commander did a rope walk to the middle and then hit stereo moonsaults to the outside. They then rolled Davis in and hit double 450 splashes onto him, but that gets broken up by Fletcher. Fletcher then takes out Vikingo on the outside by driving him into the barricade. While back inside the ring, Commander went for his rope walk shooting star press, but Davis was able to get out of the way, and then he takes Commander out. Fletcher tags in. Aussie Open hits Coriolis, and the Aussie Open defend their titles. I think Danny got kicked. I don't know. Somebody's watching.
No, he's still there.
Oh, maybe it was mine. Anyway, James, I think you mentioned earlier there was three. You said there's three good guys in this match. Fine, I'll give it to you. Whatever.
All right. I like Commander, but he's
not on this level.
He's not. He's just not. And I'm sure we know he's very talented, but he's just never going to be presented as a top guy. He's there to take pins. So Yeah, no, that's fair. I thought this was a good, fun match. I'm all for Aussie Open being as dominant as they are, considering we're never going to get the Considering we're never going to get the AEW tag team titles on Dynamite ever again, it seems, until FTR loses them. I'm fine with the ROH titles being there instead. So good time all around. I am expecting, as are many people, a champion versus champion match at All In with Aussie Open versus FTR. We'll see if that happens. But
Aussie Open's gonna be so fucking over.
Too many belts.
Iron Lion. Long time. What's going on, dude?
I know it's been a while. But Iron Lion, it's a different company. It's a different company. You can't be mad at a different company bringing their title around. You know, like, we don't get upset when Dom Mysterio brings the North American title to Raw and SmackDown. We don't get upset.
Compare Dom Mysterio, everything Jungle Boy wishes he was as a heel, to the ROH tag titles. But yeah.
Thank you, Danny. We don't get mad when Rhea Ripley brings the women's world title to NXT. So I can't get nope, go away. We live in a society. There are rules.
I don't mind the Ring of Honor title showing up, because honestly, AEW has always presented themselves, and Ring of Honor.
James, how many people are you going to kick out of groups today, man?
No, I didn't want him to go.
Both AEW and Ring of Honor, before it was purchased by Tony Khan, always and even most promotions allow champions of other companies to come into their companies when they're on TV and, have their titles. So I always look at it that way. It is a little more prevalent, I will say, in between Ring of Honor and AEW, because Tony Khan does own Ring of Honor, and it's a lot easier for him to get those champions on his shows than the champions from other companies. But it's something that I enjoy. It allows for the fact that there is more than one promotion in the world, and it allows the promotion of those promotions.
Nobody complained when Mickie James brought the Impact Women's Championship to the Royal Rumble.
Nobody complained when Impact people were showing up on AEW. Okay. Nobody complained. Impact people were showing up on AEW with their titles. Kenny had the fucking Impact titles on AEW.
He doesn't know I removed him. He's talking, but he doesn't know I removed him.
And vice versa. I mean, people going to Impact with those titles. I don't mind it. But I understand why people, see the Ring of Honor titles all of the time on AEW, and can get a little bit flustered by them, considering the fact that AEW does have quite a few titles. But personally, it doesn't bother me that much. You guys don't
nothing seems to bother you that much. You're so neutral all the time.
You're Claudio.
Get upset, man. Our team has fucking sold everyone and traded away, man. Show some emotion. Cry about it.
Danny, it's football season. See, it's football season. I have a quarterback this year.
To go back to what Iron Lion said, with the company only being a few years old, they should have had a women's tag and world title, get them established legitimately, and then do stuff like bringing in other companies' titles. So all right, objectively, I could understand there being an argument that AEW may have one title too many. You have to remember, too, this is a very, very bloated roster. And it's spread across what is now just AEW, 3 television shows between Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. If you only have 3 titles, it's spreading yourself too thin, and you're going to have shows that are just not represented. So I'm fine with them having a mid-card title, whether that's the TNT title or the international title. I'm fine with them having both. And I'm fine with them having the TBS title too, because as I mentioned earlier in the pod, I think before you got here, it opens up possibilities. Right now we have a world champion with MJF who defends his title maybe once every couple of months. But you have these fighting champions in Orange Cassidy and the international title, and the valiant Christian Cage, who is just fighting off every challenger he can as the rightful TNT champion. The women's championship, the same thing. If Saraya were to win the title at All In, she's probably not defending that belt all that often, but you have someone like Chris Statlander who could defend her belt on a weekly basis. So I understand the argument about being careful with too many championships, but I think AEW has been managing to find a sweet spot with their titles, even if the ROH stuff does sort of go a little bit heavier.
Yeah, and yeah, it does. ROH bleeding into AEW can, as I said, make it a little, taxing with all the titles. But yeah, I think that, they're doing their best to not bring them in too often of late, especially now that Ring of Honor has their own show. And there's not too much crossover. I'd say there's just as much crossover between AEW and Ring of Honor, Dynamite and Ring of Honor being more specific, but AEW Ring of Honor as there is NXT in either Raw or SmackDown. So it's not too bad. I did, like you said earlier, James, I thought it was a good idea to showcase at least one Ring of Honor thing on Dynamite, as it was a big deal when Tony bought the company. It created so many, you can do the count. It allowed for the addition of so much more talent into AEW because so many people were under Ring of Honor contracts and kind of stuck in limbo. So, was it only 6?
Yeah. 6 AEW titles.
Yeah, so you missed by 10.
Oh, no, 7. 7. Trios titles.
The new Trios titles. So, all right, so there's 7, titles or sets of titles, which I think that's about right, to be honest. I don't think that's insane over 3 shows. Yeah. So it's 3 on one show, there's 3 on the other, and you got 1 for Rampage. Like, that doesn't sound that bad to me.
Yeah.
And then what does Ring of Honor have? They have 3 men's, the women's, and the tags and the trios.
World, Pure TV, Trios tag, women's.
6.
6.
So, I mean, it's 13 titles, over the 2 companies, 7 and 6. So that actually sounds like it's almost too many for one show as opposed to the 3. But either way, it doesn't bug me all that much. But as Danny says, not a lot bugs me. Like, I really got to fucking hate something to really get going. As the bottom line says, I have lost all control of this episode because Danny and James were playing footsie there for a second. But real quick, James, this was, as we've been saying, the 200th episode of AEW Dynamite. Hopefully it gets to 2000 at some point. We'll be 60 still doing this podcast. But I thought this was a really good show. I enjoyed most everything on it. The triple threat match, I know we can't call it the 3-way match, was absolutely phenomenal.
Can they really not call it a triple threat?
I think I think WWE has that trademarked.
God, they suck.
Yeah, they do. But that match was great. My girl Shida won the title back. We had a great MJF Cole promo. I thought this was just a great show, top to bottom, especially compared to last week.
Oh yeah, no, this is, and we said it. They came off of Blood and Guts. They had the 200 the week after. It was going to be a lull episode. And they hit the ground running again this week, and it feels like all guns are heating up for All In.
Yeah, and obviously we're all very hyped about that. So I think as we continue to get closer to that, both All In and All Out, we are going to continue to get good episodes. And yeah, I think we're going to be on a bit of an uphill trend here after diving into the Grand Canyon last week. Danny, would you like to come back and say anything before we go? You can just shake your head no if you don't want to. Yep, he's doing something.
It was like a fine show. It was pretty middle of the road, mediocre.
Not enough Orange Cassidy for him.
Fair. That's
true. How are you not going to have the biggest wrestler to come out of your company since it started 200 episodes ago?
Not enough Luchasaurus.
Not enough Luchasaurus. Not enough Orange Cassidy. Like, I would even like some Sting would have been nice.
Yeah, Darby.
Yeah, no Darby.
Yeah, I mean he was on the other end of that phone call, so
I will say
voice only. Darby Allin in the credits.
I will say one thing, and I guess it's counter for me, but they should have had the Collision guys there tonight. Punk should have been there. FTR should have been there.
We got very bloated.
The Acclaimed should have been there.
Oh my God, you're right.
So I get it's only a 2-hour show and there's only so much you can do. And even though I enjoyed the Aussie Open stuff, you could have switched them out with the Acclaimed. Yet, like there are guys that have been a part of this. What? No, yeah, I can admit it. I'm not offended by Aussie Open being there, but it could and should have been other people. But if your goal
are they
is
on Rampage or Collision this week?
they're on who the hell knows? If it's on Rampage, nobody will know.
Well, just because if they're on Rampage, then this crowd tonight is getting the Acclaimed, and if they're on Collision, then a different crowd is getting the Acclaimed.
But I'm not part of that crowd. I'm not watching Rampage. Nobody is.
Rampage is like low-key really, really good. And nobody
Are you watching it?
No, but every time I do, I absolutely love it, and I just am busy on Fridays.
Weekend wrestling is awful. It's so good, but I'm never gonna watch it.
I'm just thinking of the World of Warcraft episode of South Park. You don't have a WoW account? No, I have a life. But yeah, either way, I enjoyed this episode. James enjoyed this episode. Danny was mid on this episode. And that's usually where we come out of things on this show. So unless anybody has anything else, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down podcast. We would appreciate it very much if you would like and subscribe. Please definitely subscribe if you want to see the SummerSlam prediction show that Danny and I have been teasing this entire show. Because, yes, we're going to go off on the fact that they have bumped all of the women's matches off of the card, as well as give our predictions for the show.
Half of the women's matches off the card.
Oh, the important ones off the card. And, yes, we will also predict the other matches that are happening, even though we care far less about them than we do about those women's matches. So be sure to subscribe for that. You can also check out James tomorrow on the Gym Pack Zone. Danny will probably do Raw Fast Forward on Monday as it's coming off of SummerSlam. And we will most likely be live after SummerSlam as well. We got to figure all that out, but we should be. Also, you can check us out on all of our social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the TikToks, all in the description below. I always say every week, check out the Instagram. Danny does great work over there. I will most likely be live tweeting for SummerSlam. So if you follow us on Twitter, and I'm still calling it Twitter, fuck you, Elon. Yes, if you follow us on Twitter, you can hang out with me over there during the show. And yeah, that's everything. So unless anybody has anything else, nope. All right. So on behalf of Danny Hernandez and James Santi, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you again so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good night, everybody. Where's that outro? There it is. Bye.